everybody. Welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
And I'm Sam.
And this is the first time I've done TPs together with Sam. Isn't that fun?
It is, yes. It's my first time altogether, so I'm really excited to get going and see how we get on.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be lots of fun. And partly because we have a fun topic today, we're going to talk about a specific royal family or noble family.
Indeed.
So what do you know about royal families? You are British,
Well, I thought you might say that, and I'm quite embarrassed to say that I know very little about royal families.
Honestly, I don't blame you. I find it a little bit too much.
Right, exactly. I know that we have a new king, King Charles III.
Yes.
And he's taken over after Elizabeth sadly passed away.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, there's royal families in the UK, in Sweden, I think, has one, and Norway.
Yeah. Does the Netherlands have one?
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
Right.
The King of Orange, or they're descended from the King of Orange. And Spain also still has a royal family.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm trying to think if there are any in... Oh, the Japanese royal family.
Right,
yeah. So there are a bunch of different royal families around the world.
Yeah.
This is one from the past. They're not really in power anymore, although they still exist. So we're going to learn about them, and we're not just learning about their family, we're learning about one of their illnesses.
Right. It's a bit horrible, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we're going to talk about exactly why. So let's get right into the article and learn a bit more.
Reading.
Habsburg jaw. How one family's power destroyed their health. Many cultures have been ruled by highly important and famous families. In Europe, one of the best-known ruling families is the House of Habsburg. Originally from what's now Switzerland, this family produced kings and queens of many countries in Western Europe from the 13th to 17th centuries. Various Habsburgs ruled over today's Germany, Spain, the Czech Republic, and parts of Italy. But while they had beautiful palaces and riches to spare, the Habsburgs weren't known for being attractive. Many of them had surprisingly long, pointy chins. This was because of a feature that developed in many of the family's later members called Habsburg jaw. In medicine, it's known as mandibular prognathism, and it's when the lower jaw sticks out much farther than the rest of the face. This can be fixed today through surgery, but people didn't have this option when the Habsburgs were in power. Some Habsburgs had such severe prognathism that they had trouble speaking and eating properly, or couldn't fully close their mouths. Embarrassingly, the first Habsburg king of Spain was once told by a commoner to shut his mouth so flies wouldn't go in.
All right, our article starts out today by saying, many cultures have been ruled by highly important and famous families. So we gave a few examples already, but more might be like the dynasties of China. You know, China was imperial for 2,000 or more years, ending with the Qing dynasty. The Tsars of Russia, like that ended in the early 1900s.
Yeah, there was a big movement there at that point in history.
Oh, yes, there were, and I think that's how many royal families ended.
Right, yes. The Tudors, of course.
Yes.
That one I do know. Obviously, horrible history.
Oh my gosh, yeah, lots of heads coming off.
Exactly. Yeah, I think most people know about Henry VIII and all
yeah.
that. And in the Windsors, another British royal family. So,
yes.
Yeah, the most contemporary, most modern.
Yeah, the one that currently rules the UK.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving on with the article, we then say, in Europe, one of the best-known ruling families is the House of Habsburg. So we're introducing the Habsburg family.
The Habsburgs. So the Habsburgs I am familiar with. and I think most people who know European history will be familiar with them because they had a lot of reach. Originally from what's now Switzerland, this family produced kings and queens of many countries in Western Europe from the 13th to 17th centuries.
Right.
So 400 years, they ruled different countries. What did they rule?
So, the various Habsburgs ruled over today's Germany, Spain, the Czech Republic, and parts of Italy. Now, here we have our first vocabulary of the day, various. So, various in this sense is quite easy to understand. It literally means more than one. So, if we went to a movie theatre and I said, this theatre is showing various movies today, it would mean that there are several movies to choose from. Here's another example. There are various buses that will take you from here to the town centre. That means that there are several buses, more than one, that we could take to get to the town centre from here.
So if you have various forms of transportation, then you have a lot of different ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So they had various people ruling over these different countries, or what are today these different countries. They had some of them had different names back in those times. I think there was like Bohemia, the Holy Roman Empire, and Italy was divided into different states.
That's right.
So, yeah.
It wasn't Italy as we know it today.
Right. But while they had beautiful palaces and riches to spare, the Habsburgs weren't known for being attractive. Yeah. They were very rich, but not attractive.
Not attractive.
Kind of ugly.
Does that matter when you have lots of money?
It depends on who you ask, I guess. So they had beautiful palaces, and they had them to spare. When you have something to spare, that means it's a saying to mean that you have more than enough of it. Basically, you have so much of it that you could give some to others and not really lose too much. In other words, you have a lot. So like if I said like, oh, I have lots of sandwiches for everybody today. I have sandwiches to spare. It means everybody could take a sandwich and I'd still have some.
Yeah.
So another vocabulary we see in here is the palace. A palace is the official home of a king or a queen or sometimes a president. You could think of like maybe the White House. I think it's not considered a palace, but you could think of it as one.
It looks like a palace.
It looks like one, yeah. And then in England you have Buckingham Palace,
right?
Where the king lives.
Yeah.
Or you could even think of like a palace as a very large and impressive house, usually one that looks very, very, like really huge. It has dozens of rooms, has fancy decorations, a big garden, lots of servants. Basically, think of the place where a king or queen would live. It is probably a palace.
Right. You could certainly call it a palace.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And an example sentence here, we could say, the palace at Versailles in France was the home of many of the country's kings and queens in the past. Today it's a tourist spot. You can go visit it.
Yeah. I haven't visited it, have you?
No, I haven't been outside of Paris, but I want to someday, definitely.
Yeah, me too. So we then have a phrase, to be known for something, and that means to be famous for a reason. So if take a restaurant. If it is known for its stinky tofu, that means it is famous for its stinky tofu. You wouldn't necessarily go there for its, its hamburgers.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't sell hamburgers, but it's known for a reason. It's known for the stinky tofu. You go there for that thing.
Exactly.
Okay. And the next vocabulary word is attractive. Now, in the article, it means, as Kat said, to look beautiful or handsome.
Or I said they were ugly, so not beautiful or handsome.
Okay, exactly, yeah. So the opposite of what Kat said. They were ugly, they were not attractive, they were not beautiful or handsome. We can also use attractive to mean a person's personality. If someone is funny or kind, then we might also be attracted to them. We might like them, because those are nice personality traits to have. We can even use attractive to talk about things or places. So, I like visiting my parents because they live in an attractive little village. It's a beautiful place to spend some time. An example sentence that's more like the article usage would be, Jack thought the girl was very attractive, so he asked her out on a date.
So attractive is something you are attracted to.
That's right.
Like it pulls you in, sort of, you could say. So they were not attractive, the Habsburgs. The article says many of them had surprisingly long, pointy chins. Like really long and really pointy. So we're wondering, well, what makes them not attractive about that? So first we have to explain some of these words in here. Pointy is having a sharp end. So you could think of when you stick your finger out, your finger is pointy. Or the end of a pencil is pointy.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, you can poke somebody with it and they'll go, ow. So in this case, their chins were pointing outward. Like if you stick out your lower teeth as far as you can, it's like, yeah, putting your chin out there. You can't see what I'm doing, but I was trying to do it.
I think we're getting the image.
Yeah. So a chin is the part of your face below your mouth and above your neck that ends in a point. Yeah. It's where some people have beards. Sam has a beard.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And it's different than your jaw. We'll learn about jaw a little bit later. But yeah, your chin is basically the lower point of your face.
Right.
And you often scratch it when you're thinking about something.
Yeah.
So for an example sentence, you could say, many people have the habit of pulling their face masks down under their chins when they eat.
That's very true. So we're about to learn about jaw. So the sentence that introduces that is, this was because of a feature that developed in many of the family's later members called Habsburg jaw. So there's the word jaw.
Must be a big deal if they called it jaw after them.
Exactly, yes, it must be a big deal. So we learned what the chin is. The chin is the very bottom part of your face. Now the chin is actually connected to the jaw. So the jaw is the part that your lower teeth are connected to. And if you imagine that when you're eating something and you chew, it's that part of your mouth, that lower part, that moves up and down. That's the jaw. So as I said earlier, the chin is the very bottom part of your jaw, the bit that sticks out. So an example, Eliza bit down on a hard candy and now her jaw hurts. Because she used the bottom part of her mouth to push up and bite, it's probably that's going to hurt, if anything. Or her teeth, I guess. But yeah, in this case, her jaw hurts.
Yeah, if you chomp on something, or if you bite down on something too hard, or chew gum a little too much, or maybe if you grind your teeth in your sleep, your jaw is going to hurt. Usually like the part where it comes together near your ear.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of muscles there.
Yes. So it was called Habsburg jaw, the thing that they had. In medicine, it's known as mandibular prognathism, and it's when the lower jaw sticks out much farther than the rest of the face. Mandibular prognathism. This is a big phrase. This is not necessary for you guys to know because it's a medical word. If you're going to become a doctor, especially a doctor who works on the face, it might be something that you encounter. But it's something that people still get today, but sort of fixable. Mandibular prognathism. So mandibular means your mandible, which is the medical word for your lower jaw. And then prognathism is when something on your face is too far forward. Like when your teeth don't match up properly, so your lower teeth are a lot further forward than your upper teeth.
Right.
I think other people have maxillary prognathism, which is the upper jaw sticks out too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've taught me something there. I did not know that.
Now we know. So it sticks out. That's what it does, the lower jaw. It continues outward beyond the edge of something.
Right.
Basically, your lower teeth stick out from your upper teeth.
Right. Now, you'd think that might be fixable. But the article says that while this can be fixed today through surgery, but people didn't have this option when the Habsburgs were in power. Now, what is surgery? Well, surgery is when a doctor will cut you open. That can be a big cut or a small cut, depends on what the problem is. But it's to treat an injury or a problem with your body.
You call it internal medicine sometimes, I think, right?
Yeah.
So surgery, you get cut open. You can have, if you have Habsburg jaw or mandibular prognathism, you can get it fixed today. But they didn't have that option back then. The option is the choice. So basically something you have the ability to try or something you are able to do. They didn't have the choice to get surgery back then. Medicine just wasn't that advanced.
Right, exactly. Now, there's also a phrase we should look at here. It's in power. So the Habsburgs were in power. What does that mean? Well, it means they had control. So in power means to have control, usually of a country. So, for example, the king is in power, or the president, 蔡英文, is in power right now. So the Habsburgs were in power
Indeed.
back then.
They were. Some Habsburgs had such severe prognathism that they had trouble speaking and eating properly or couldn't fully close their mouths.
Wow.
Man, that would be a really rough thing to have.
It would, wouldn't it?
It really, really would.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, so severe is what we're talking about here. Prognathism, we said, is when part of your face sticks out. So basically their lower jaw stuck out so severely. Severe is an adjective meaning very bad or very serious or unpleasant. So it's kind of like really, really, but in a bad way.
Right.
So in this case, it's very serious. So you could also use severe to talk about the weather. We're actually, as we're recording, having some severe weather right now. There's a tropical storm coming through. It's raining a lot, very windy. We don't want to be outside. No. People are staying indoors. You could also talk about getting severe damage, like if your car is in an accident, it might take severe damage. Or if somebody is severely ill, it might mean that they're in danger of dying. Something like that.
Yeah.
So an example sentence for severe could be, Dennis was in such severe pain after his accident that he couldn't move his legs without crying. Oh, that's really sad.
Poor Dennis.
Yeah.
So we also then have a grammar point. So some Habsburgs had trouble speaking and eating. So what is this grammar? We use the structure subject plus have plus trouble plus a progressive or continuous verb. We use have because the problem belongs to the subject, so the subject owns the problem. To show that the action that is the problem, we use a progressive verb. This is to show that the problem is a continuing problem. So the Habsburgs didn't only have problems speaking or eating once, they likely had a problem every time they spoke or ate. Okay. We can also replace trouble with problems or a hard time, and it will mean the same thing. So an example might be, I have a hard time getting up in the morning. I always feel so tired.
Me too.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, me for real too. That was a very real life little story for you there.
Even this morning I was like, oh God, I have to get up and but anyway, we're here now. At least we made it.
We are.
Yes.
So if we sound sleepy, you'll know why.
Right. So in the article, we see that, they had trouble speaking and eating properly. They couldn't fully close their mouths sometimes. Imagine if you could never close your mouth. That would be really tough. And it could lead to some embarrassing moments. So there is one embarrassing moment here. Embarrassingly, the first Habsburg king of Spain was once told by a commoner to shut his mouth so flies wouldn't go in.
Wow.
Yeah, and very embarrassing,
that.
very ganga. So, he was told this by a commoner, which makes it even worse. A commoner is a person who's not a member of the nobility. Basically, they're an everyday person living in a kingdom. They're not a royal. They're not a knight. They're not part of the ruling class. They're usually not rich. Basically, if you were a really, really famous and powerful person and somebody told you, "Sir, close your mouth, the flies are going in," wouldn't that be the most embarrassing thing? And he shouted it in public.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be extremely, what would say, awkward.
Very, very awkward. I think I might be mad, but you couldn't say anything because the person's trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
So a commoner, it's an everyday person in a kingdom. So, an example sentence, you could say, the prince sometimes dresses as a commoner so he can go out and have fun without getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of day one. We have learned some stuff about the Habsburgs and their medical problems.
We
but
have indeed. Yeah.
There are more to come.
I want to learn a lot more about them. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So that's all we've got for day one. Let's go to our For You chat.
You chat.
All right, our chat question today. What features do you share with your family members? These could be how you look or how you act. I hope that they aren't mandibular prognathism. I hope that's not a feature you guys share because that's a genetic issue.
That would be, well, there's surgery these days.
There is.
Yeah, if you really wanted to get that corrected. Not that you should feel bad about the way you look, because of course you shouldn't. But
only if it's like hurting your life.
Right. Yeah, causing you some physical problems or mental problems, I guess.
But what about you? What features do you share with your family members?
That's a good question because I don't think I share many physical features with my parents or my brother.
Really?
No, I look quite different to all of them, and I think probably my brother looks quite different to all of us as well.
That's odd.
Yeah, it is odd, but people do say that I have very similar mannerisms to my brother, and that's like the way our body language or the way we act is. So I've had people say, I can tell you're brothers because the way you're standing together, you look very similar. Or the way you like move your arms is very similar. Or sometimes the way you speak is very similar. And I used to have, when I lived with my parents, and people would call the house phone, they would often get confused about whether it was me or my dad answering the phone, especially as in my later teenage years. I think people did the
same thing with me and my mom.
Right, yeah.
Which is strange because at the time I lived with them, I was still, pretty young. I had a younger voice, so I don't know.
Does your mum have a very young voice? Or?
No, not really. She sounds like a, typical lady. Also, she has a southern accent, which I do not have.
No, you don't, no.
Yeah. But I think I share more physical features with my family. I have my mom's green eyes, brown hair. I have sort of the facial structure of my dad.
Okay.
And then my brother is kind of the reverse, where he has my mom's face and then my dad's blonde eyes and blue hair.
Right.
No, blue eyes and blonde hair. Blue eyes and blonde hair. God.
Well, blonde eyes would be interesting.
That would be strange,
and
but
blue hair from birth would also be extremely fun. But
yeah, but no, blue eyes, blonde hair. So yes, yeah, we definitely share the physical features of my family. But my brother is taller than any of us, so there you go. He got all the height.
Yeah, he took all of those genes and added them all on top of each other. And I don't know if that works, but...
All right. So that's all we've got for day 1. In day 2, we're going to learn more about the Habsburgs and their problems.
We are,
and basically, how did it all end? Oh, my God. So, yeah, we'll see you in day 2. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you.
Vocabulary Review. Various. Eddie likes to listen to various types of music, so it's hard for him to pick a favorite kind. Palace. The king ordered his people to build a new palace for him and his queen. Attractive. Daniel thinks that his neighbor Lisa is very attractive, so he has asked her out on a date. Chin. It's common for a goat to have long hair that hangs from its chin. Jaw. Shane got hit in the mouth. Now whenever he moves his jaw, it hurts. Severe. Tim was fired from his job after he made a severe mistake that cost the company millions of dollars.
智慧小补帖
Have something to spare. Mandibular, prognathism. Surgery. Option. Embarrassingly. Commoner.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net